Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
On July 4th, 1962, I found myself in the lost and found of mankind. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that it wants to be there. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that the person who lost it doesn't care for that lost item.
You are writing moments that people will learn from, grow from, and heal through for thousands of years. Together, we are co-authoring a unique moment in time. That DNA, those fingerprints, they're going to be gone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it is your story that they will tell for thousands of years, but only if you leave it. Things that do not serve you must go. The longer you wait, the more time you give them to trick you into serving them. 22 homes in foster care, everything I wore as a scar, as a shame, things that started like Velcro on my spirit. After just a few months, then years, then decades, I had believed myself into believing that they were indelible tattoos. Sometimes we have to be broken down to appreciate the view once we start getting up. I want you to leave this place and know that you have been changed. Why? How do I know it's true? Because each of you has just changed.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. You walk right past me, pretending like you don't see. What's yours for the taking tonight?
This is my version of the bell today, y'all. I told you Friday, if you were here, and I hope you were. If you weren't, where the dickens were you? I'm on the road today in southwestern Michigan, and so I don't have the set, but I have you, and that's the most important thing of all. Can I get an amen? Welcome to the Monday edition of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren, and yeah, I'm at a place called the Mason Jar Cafe. Because y'all know, even if I'm not at home in the studio, I am going to eat during the show, right? So I'm having it today. Great show for you. How was your weekend? On a scale of 1 to 10, put it in the comments. I want to know because I'm nosy like that. Ding, hitting the bell of purpose in absentia. So anyway, let me see. I don't think I have any announcements this morning, and I am going to just check to make sure. Well, I will say this. Oh, can I see that magazine? I'm here with my brother, Jeff. You guys, here it is. It came last week. The Los Angeles Times magazine. And if I can find it. Yes, there it is. We are in there, as you see. You can get these on your newsstands now. This is all about our trip to Romania back in May, where we went and spent a total of 9 days pouring into youth all over the country, and it was absolutely life-changing. So if you want to read more about it, you can read the online version. Go to any of my social media platforms. You can find the link there, or hit me up. And if you want a hard copy, I got a box full of them the other day, and I'll be happy to send you one. Okay, wait a minute. The first 10 people, okay, because I'm just saying, it wasn't free, right? Ding, there's the bell. Great show for you today. You know, from time to time, I like to introduce you to people that I feel are doing awesome things to ease suffering in the world, and that are also doing things to help all of us find what we need so that we can do the same thing on a higher diving board. And today it's no exception. Andrew Pearce is here, and I to be honest with you, I don't remember exactly how I found him. I'm just grateful that I did. So here's a little bit about Andrew. Right now, he's from Perth, but he's in Bali. Okay, he lives in Bali, and I know, right? So here's a little bit about Andrew. He's a professional stress. Know a little bit something about stress? I know I do. He's a professional stress and performance coach, and he shows high achievers how they can master the skill of emotional release in such a way that they're able to rest, regenerate, and refocus without needing to stop doing business. Sounds like a plan to me. Also, what this means is that they can maintain a high level of output, results, and performance. Now, through Andrew's work, he says he's able to help his clients experience moments of awakening where they connect to clarity, direction, and a deeper meaning of purpose in their lives, all of which results in them being happier, and now they are able to enjoy the quality of their life. He believes in infinite flow. I'm looking at his Facebook page, and if we've got his website pulled up, we're going to talk about all of that. He's also a great coach. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, you know what, Andrew? I'm going to ask you to go into the private chat, if you could, and just drop your link to your website, because we want to make sure we get that to you guys before the end of today's broadcast. And I will take the liberty of dropping it inside the comment section before the conclusion. Now, he also used to work at a place. He was the former CEO at Anxiety Free Living. Is that such a thing? I think it is, and we're going to find out today. So listen, you know, when we have someone here on the show that's never been here before, we do our very best to welcome them with open arms, open heart, and just really be ready to receive. So here's our virtual way of doing that. Throw some hearts up on the screen. It's a virtual way of rolling out the red carpet. It's a virtual way of applauding and standing to our feet, because guess what? Here he comes all the way from someplace in the distant land. Here comes Andrew Pearce.
Hello, hello.
Well,
How are
hello,
you?
Bali. Well, hello, Bali. Get it?
Hello,
Yes.
Dolly.
Tune in. Hello, Dolly. I don't know it. No.
At
What
least
is
it's
it?
not as bad as the kid a
Dolly
couple
Parton is my guess.
Yeah. Hello, Dolly. Oh my God. That's a movie from like, how old are you, Andrew?
I'm 34.
Well, that explains it. Well, let me just tell you this. It's from years gone by. Only old people like me know. It was a Broadway show, and then it was a movie. Yeah. Google it. Hello, Dolly.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
have to check it out.
Well, let me tell you this. At least it's not as bad. This really happened like 2 months ago. You guys remember because I told you a couple months ago. I had a waiter at a restaurant. And I was like, oh, they were playing Whitney Houston, right? And I said, what's your favorite Whitney Houston song? And the kid looks at me and goes, who?
Yeah, right. I at least know who Whitney Houston is.
You know who Whitney Houston is. Listen, here's what we're going to do. I'd like to give the guest an opportunity to just like create your own vibe with the audience. So I'm going to dip out for a minute and you just take over anything I didn't mention in your bio. Feel free to fill in between the lines. Then I'm going to come back in. We'll get started with your origin story and take it from there. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. All you, take it away.
All righty. Well, without giving too much of the origin story away, well, first off, hello to everyone. I can see Sherry and Robert. So I'm actually from Melbourne. I was born in Melbourne, spent most of my life there. I've done plenty of travel in my time. Southeast Asia, Africa, North America, Europe, South America, Central America. And I was born in Melbourne, but I've been living in Bali for the past 5 years. The first 2.5 years were on and off. And then I actually had the first 6 months of COVID at my parents' place, which really wasn't too bad. It was nice to spend the time with the folks. And I grew up in a rainforest, hilly type area, which was, I love being surrounded by trees. I love that. Like, I don't need to go anywhere to get to the forest. That's just the default. So, there was certainly some peacefulness in those first 6 months, but I was dying to get back to Bali, and I eventually did. And then here we are now, where I enjoy surfing. I got into golf during COVID. I love my golf. Other than that, a bit of working out, hanging out with friends, and of course doing coaching. I can't hear you. I've lost your audio.
My bad. I had muted myself. Ooh, talk about a rookie mistake. Listen, did you take golfing?
Golfing, yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking about taking up golfing as my old person sport. But you're not old and you play it. Why do you golf? Is it relaxing as it looks?
Look, golf can be very frustrating, but it's beautiful, man. It's just so many different games in one. There's the social aspect. You're out in nature. You can be on the course for 4 hours. There's a relaxed nature to the game of golf, whilst also an intense focus at the same time. It's not like basketball where someone can, take the ball off you at any moment. You're very much there against yourself. But hitting a small ball a long way with a small club towards a small hole and hitting it close and hitting a good shot, the sound in the field, it's just very satisfying. So I would definitely suggest getting into golf.
How long did it take you to, kind of get a handle on the game, Andrew?
I would think like at least 10 months. And I was fortunate enough to play quite a bit. I'm talking 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times a week. This was during COVID. The courses were very vacant. So not, most people aren't getting out 2 or 3 times a week when they first start. It might be every other weekend. So for those who know golf, I broke 100 in took me 10 months, but then 12 days later, I broke 90. So I felt like I had a handle in the game kind of 10 months in.
Well, I'll be hitting you up for some tips when I get started, even if it's just like
what kind of golf clubs to get, how do you find all of that? Because I'm really thinking of starting in the next year or so.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit me up, and I'll be more than happy to share some advice where I can.
Yep. So, hey, I want to start off by asking you this. Emotional release. That really stood out to me when I was reading, going through your materials, especially on your website. It's one of the first things that you roll out is this emotional release. And you don't really hear that terminology too often, or perhaps we don't hear it often enough. Can you kind of explain to the audience what that literally means, emotional release?
For sure. So if people were to think about emotion as energy in motion, and that our emotions has a direction that it wants to head, then emotional release is really about the removing of resistance and getting out of the way. So an example that I love to use is if, for example, there is a tennis ball that is floating on the top of the surface of the water, and then we push it down with our hands. The tennis ball has a natural buoyancy to float to the surface, and then our hand has a counter force, which is greater than it, that pushes it down and keeps it stuck. And so what happens here is, this is the same thing that we do with our emotions. There are a multitude of emotional fights or emotional conflicts that are taking place within us at any one time. And this is really, I work with a lot of burnout. This is what burns people out and tires people out, is the amount of energy that it takes to keep their emotions at bay, fears, doubts, insecurities, and so on. So emotional release is, if you think about that tennis ball underwater, your hand's on top of it. If you remove your hand from being on top of the tennis ball, if you no longer fight back and push against it, then because of the natural buoyancy of the tennis ball, it's going to float to the surface of its own accord. You don't need to direct it, yell at it, tell it what to do, worry about it not floating to the surface or anything like that. You simply need to get out of the way. And so people may have heard that before, but that's how emotional release takes place, is by getting out of the way.
Getting out of the way. You know, amen to that, because I know in my own journey, I didn't know it at the time, but as soon as I did get out of the way and it opened up, it was like I can see everything that was in front of me now, because, you know, it's the kind of thing like this, Andrew. I know now. I used to listen to wall talk. I call it wall talk because there was no opportunity within it. When people, they meant well, but they would say, "Oh, Lauren, when are you going to get over it? Oh, Lauren, you'll find a way around it. Oh, surely, Lauren, there's a way to get from underneath it." But really, I needed to get through it. I needed to get through it so I could get to whatever it was I needed to deal with, not avoiding it, not getting around it or getting over it, but really getting to the core issue. So one of the things that I had been getting wrong, and I want to know how you feel about this, is I was confusing emotions versus feelings. I thought they were one and the same. Personally, I found out for me, they were not. What say you about that? Do you believe emotions and feelings are one and the same, or is there a difference?
No, so yeah, a great question. And my understanding is that emotions are really the physiological response in the body, and a feeling is it's a mental construction of that emotion. So, for example, feeling like someone's standing on your chest isn't an emotion. It might have an emotion of the fear or anger that's present in the body. Feeling like someone's going to pull the rug out from under you isn't an emotion. So they're definitely not one and the same. And it's incredibly valuable to practice tuning into and listening to your body of like, how do I feel? For example, and the reason why is that when we name how we're feeling, we bring awareness to it.
Yes.
So if you're just like, oh, okay, that's why I'm not moving forward. I feel like as soon as I commit, someone's going to come around from the corner and just go, ha, gotcha. I feel like I'm going to get tricked. I feel like getting tricked is not an emotion, but it's a feeling that someone can feel. And so when that is named, we bring light to it, we bring awareness to it, and then it can be addressed and faced head on.
Ding, ding, ding. I'm ringing the bell, which is not here with me. I'm not kidding you. You know why that is so important? And we're going to stop right there for a second because I don't want you guys to miss this. This is really important. This is huge. Andrew, you are 1000% correct, because in my own journey, I realized when things started shifting for me was the moment I started naming everything. I always use this example. Well, because I know now that things that do not serve me, the reason they remained so prevalent, haunting the halls of all my dreams and aspirations for so many decades, was because I didn't name them. So I couldn't find them. I was like running around. It's like trying to catch a butterfly without a net. A butterfly doesn't have a flight pattern. It's just like everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And so what I love about what you just said is this. For instance, I always use this example. Hello. Hi, Gail. How you doing? Horrible. Why? What's wrong? Everything. What do you mean? Just my job. What about your job? Those people. When really she should have said, I'm pissed off at that bitch Gail or Brenda in HR, because now she's named it and now you can start dealing with it. But when we leave it so vague and open, it's like a blank check. It has no value. Nothing is written in, not who it's for, how much the value is, nothing. So I want to ask you this. One of the things that, here are some things that stood out to me in your work that I love the way you say things. For instance, you said, you mentioned an intense stillness. Intense, or was it intense or inner? Inner stillness.
Inner stillness.
Inner stillness. And then you said you spoke to the need to remembering to slow down. And then finally, that inner sanctuary of rest and retreat. Yes. Talk about that. Is this the place we're trying to find our way to when we pray, when we meditate? Is that what we're looking for, this place you just described? Talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I have a lot of spiritual beliefs and curiosities, and it's even so interesting in the way that the question is asked. Is that the place that we're trying to find? Which inherently in that question suggests that there is a place that we are not, or that there is a place that is outside of us, that is something to find. But rather, I like to believe that we are what we seek. We are what we are seeking. Our nature is stillness. Our nature is presence. And it's rather than a finding, it's a becoming aware of the truth of what we are. It's removing the veil of illusion that we live on this human earth. It's the experience that we're having. And so the practice of surrender, continual surrender, just as when the clouds, like when it's a cloudy day, we're not just like, oh my God, the sun has gone forever, we need to build a new sun. And the way that the sun, or the way that we then feel the rays of the sun, is from the subtraction of the clouds in the sky. So life, in my opinion, is about surrendering. There's a quote by the Dalai Lama, which I really love, that says, love is the absence of judgment. So stillness is the absence of internal chaos or internal conflict. Inner peace is the absence of conflict. So I think our job in life is to really go about making judgment absent, and then what you're left with is love, peace, stillness, and so on.
Absolutely right. So let's pivot right there, because that's a piece that it's easy for us to sprint past what you just said about inner peace and that inner stillness. So let's talk about ways in which
to quell that, because it's like a pressure cooker. There's a release valve built into all of us that is available at all times. But so many of us, for whatever reasons, refuse to use it. We stuff things down, like your analogy with the ball, just trying to hold it down. Why do you think it is, and what are some of the tips that you give your clients in how to, first of all, assess that you need to release something, to let go of it, and then how to go about making that literally happen? Because a lot of us will say it, but we don't pull the trigger on it. And why do you think that is? That is, most of us, so many of us will refuse to let something go, and we just hold on to it like that monkey who has his hand inside and won't let go of the, right. What is that?
Yeah. Great questions. There's a couple in there, so I'm going to speak to a few of them. I'm going to start off by talking about the fear of fear. So as human beings, we all inherently have a fear of fear, or someone is stressed that they're stressed, they're anxious that they're anxious. Anxiety can come on and then they're just like, what's this? So there's a fear of fear and a fear of strong feelings. And so I believe this is where everyone should start their personal development work. It's where I start my clients, is that fear and strong feelings are going to be present in life. We need to change the way that we relate to fear and emotional pain rather than trying to get rid of it. Because if you have a high fear of fear, you could be a burnt out millionaire CEO who's disconnected from himself, empty, constantly wearing a mask, and he's miserable. But he's just ran so much, he or she has ran so much, there's been a strong fear of fear in the body that it's just like, I'm not sticking around with this fear, I'm moving. Or you can have a high fear of fear and you could wind up being an addict on the streets. The way that they've distracted is through drugs. The way some people distract is through chasing success and busyness and stuff like that.
Correct.
So I think fundamentally people need to understand that there is a fear of fear, and to change the way that you relate to that. And one of my favorite one-liners, which is just so powerful, is that what's coming up is coming up to leave. Now, what happens is when a fear comes up in our body, or a doubt, or an insecurity, it comes up feeling like it's going to happen. It comes up feeling like it's going to actualize, feeling like it's going to manifest, feeling like if I don't do anything about this, it's going to happen, or things are going to get worse in my life. And so when that's how fear feels, we fight against it. But the energies we fight, we feed, and what we resist persists. So one of my favorite lines is, what's coming up is coming up to leave. What this insight does is it changes the way that we relate to fear. But if it's just like, oh, this is coming up to happen, we're going to fight against it. We remind ourselves what's coming up is coming up to leave. We're going to get out of the way, like we spoke about at the start of the conversation. And that emotion, which is energy in motion, is going to have the space to move through. That tennis ball is going to rise to the surface. So if that tennis ball comes up and it feels just like this is going to cause damage and do bad things in my life, then of course we're going to try and push it down and damage control and everything like that. So what's coming up is coming up to leave. Couple of simple words. I use that still daily whenever it's needed. I remind myself whenever it's necessary. And it allows me to keep my body open so that the fear can move.
Exactly. And I love what you just said, Andrew. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell all of you what kind of the download I was getting while you were describing this. I saw a splinter, like when you get a splinter in your finger and it's in there, but at first it's so far down, you can feel it every time you bumps, ouch, but it hasn't come out enough for us to pull it out, but nonetheless, we know that it exists. And, we do little things to help it along. We squeeze around it, and still sometimes we have to wait until it naturally is pushed to the surface, even if it's enough, because everyone has done this with a splinter. You try to pull it out too soon, and it breaks off or it goes back down in there, and you got to wait again. Patience. Because a lot of us
Yes.
think when things rise to the surface, they're just going to run out as if it were a burning building. No, sometimes there is a rescue effort because you have to understand why something is ready to go so that you can understand what you need to replace that vacancy. This is
Yes.
you must be willing to put something down in order to be willing to pick something new up. Or like some people say, dying to this thing that no longer serves me so that I can live with this thing that has been waiting to serve me. So I love
Yeah.
that analogy. So tell me about this though. What do you say to people? Because, even in my own coaching, P3, purpose, passion, and the most challenging piece of all is the third piece, patience. Do you have any tips that our viewers can utilize to help them become more patient during the process?
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. If anyone ever asked me that question, I would tell them to address the impatience. Trying to be patient whilst there's impatience in your body is it's fighting. It's fighting a losing battle. So if someone's just like, hey, I want to be more impatient, I'd be like, great, let's look at the impatience. We can explore where it's coming from, what it's about, the fear, the doubt, the insecurity. If someone's impatient, it's likely that there's a lack of belief in what they want actually happening. For example, if they had strong belief and strong trust, they probably wouldn't be bringing the problem of impatience to a coaching session. So I'd be like, all right, if you want to be more patient, then let's address the impatience. Let's take a look at what is beneath the impatience. And then let's also do the surrendering work to open your body up to the feeling of impatience. What's coming up is coming up to leave so that it can move through and release. But that's how I would address, because by the nature of subtracting, just as I spoke about before, by the nature of subtracting the clouds from the sky, you're left with the sun. So by the nature of subtracting impatience from the equation, you're left with patience. By
Exactly.
subtracting conflict, you're left with peace. So that is the approach that I would take.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And it's so very true. So here's another piece of the equation that I remember was a challenge for me, personally speaking. And that was understanding the difference between need and want. A lot of us, I find, and with my clients, is that, ooh, I want this. It's almost like, the little kid who wants candy for breakfast. Yeah, you may want candy, but you need oatmeal. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a part of a
Yes.
nutritional plan, and need is attached to plan. For instance, I use this analogy a lot. A lot of us let's say New Year's Day comes, and we have all of these. Oh, I want to lose 10 pounds, and then 3 weeks later, we've gained it. Why? Because it was a want, which is equivalent to a wish. All we did was write it on a Post-it note and stick it on the refrigerator. But fast forward 20 years, and the doctor says, Lauren, you need to lose 20 pounds, or I'm going to put your ass on insulin. Well, what do we need to do, doc? Because he's going to say, well, your wellness plan, here's the plan. So
Yes.
I want you to talk about how people, because here's the deal. I believe this, Andrew. I know for a fact one of the main things for me, flipping things around in my journey, was I really had to learn to be completely honest with myself about my weaknesses, my strengths. I have to understand that not every day am I going to wake up this guy to be here on this show. Hi, everybody. Well, so I have to know myself well enough to run ahead in the future. And say, for instance, when I'm reading a book and there's a passage that resonates with me to a cellular level, to mark that passage, write it down, to literally put things within reach, not hide them or just throw them anywhere, put them within reach, a purposeful place for them, like on my spiritual mantle, right? So that when I'm not
Yeah.
this guy, it is right there to remind me of who I am and who I am striving to become. Do you have any tips for our viewers on how to become completely, or at least a start, honest with yourself as far as what you need to do to rise to the level that you're striving for today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really powerful to make a distinction between wanting and willing. Plenty of people want things, like you said. It's a wish list. It's the start of the year. I want this. I want that. I want to lose 10 pounds, etc., etc. The question always is, how willing are you to do what's required to create that want, both the internal work and the external steps? If someone wants to lose 10 pounds, but their willingness is here, then there is a lack of a match. There is a lack of a match, which means the want doesn't come to fruition. If someone wants six-pack abs, but they're not willing to cut out the calories, stop drinking the beers, maybe, cop some flack from their friends for not drinking, or miss some social events or whatever it is. If you're not willing to do what's required, you will never get there. Nothing happens without willingness. And something that I want people to know is everyone already has access to willingness. The question is, how deep does it run, and in what direction are you pointing it? For example, if someone hates their job and wants to start a business, but they're not willing to face the uncertainty of starting a business, they must understand that they are willing to tolerate hating a job. And so what this does is it shows this person, it's like, well, I am connected to willingness. It's just not running that deep, and I'm pointing it in the wrong direction. It's not in alignment with my wants and my desires. So for someone to really get going and becoming that person that they want, pain is a great motivator. I mean, be fed up with your situation, be fed up with the stories that you tell yourself in your mind, be fed up with your own excuses, and be willing to do what's required to get to where you want to be. Be willing to eat the dirt, be willing to embarrass yourself, be willing to be criticized by people, be willing to show yourself to the world, be willing to have some setbacks, be willing to be in it for the long game, and you'll get there. But if you're not willing, you won't. And for no other reason, truly, for no other reason than a lack of willingness is why your wants won't come to fruition.
Absolutely right. 1000%. I knew there was a reason I liked you. I'm not kidding. And I'm going to tell you something. The most important letters of that word willing is ing, in my opinion, because, and this is the thing. You're fighting the good fight, people, when you're speaking your truths and you see a string of ing words. That means that you are literally within the process. For instance, hey, Andrew, what are you doing? You want to play golf Thursday? Sorry, Lauren, I'm working. Hey, Andrew, what are you doing right now? You got a second? Sorry, Lauren, I'm sleeping. And remember, why is it so important? Because what are we? We are human beings. We are not human duns, which means we are in the process. And that is so important. We must always be willing to bend and be flexible to what is currently happening within our lives that is forcing us to reach for higher diving boards. Because if it wasn't pushing us, we'd stay right where we're at. So I want to ask, let's go back to the fear piece, can we?
For sure.
Here's what I love. Tell us about your take on this, Andrew. When we hear the term fearless, okay? Because I don't think it's possible to be completely devoid of fear. I think that's why we have fight or flight internally inside of us, where the hair stands up on your neck. That's because that is something threatening our literal being, our bodies. And so we know, something doesn't feel right. I don't like this feeling. I'm out of here. However, if it is not something, this is my own take, if it's not something literally threatening my physical being, I believe that fear in most cases is false. It is not. So that's why I believe we're told to be fearless. Tell us a little bit about how you work with your clients, because fear was a big piece you were saying earlier. Fear of fear. So how do we become more fearless?
Yeah, great question. I really use spiritual teachings as the benchmark. And so there's a guy that I love called David R. Hawkins. Have you ever heard of him? He's written Power vs. Force, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. And I just watched this in the last 2 weeks, actually, just a video of him on YouTube. That it's called The Final Door, which is surrendering existence itself over to life, over to God, surrendering life itself, facing the great uncertainty, the fear of non-existence. And that in that space for him, a great teacher came in and said, all fear is an illusion. You're completely safe. And so I have that as the benchmark. So something that I would share with a client is that you're completely safe to feel completely unsafe, which is, largely what fear is. It's a very unsafe feeling. So that's the point of reference. That's the benchmark, is that you're completely safe to feel unsafe. That is really a fundamental teaching that I will share with clients. We can unpack memories, childhood, where it's come from, who's playing the part here, mum or dad. We can look at the specifics if necessary. Yet often at times it's not necessary. A willingness to open your body up to what is already present in the body and to be present with it. Eckhart Tolle says this, and I love it, is that our conscious presence is the transformational tool that dissolves all suffering. Just as vampires cannot stand the light of the sun, just as cotton candy cannot stand being in water, it just dissolves, that our conscious presence is the transformational tool that dissolves all suffering.
Conscious presence. Yes.
Yeah. So that's through those teachings. This supports my clients in then going through processes and experiences of addressing and releasing fear. And then, like with anything, the more experience you get, the more confidence and comfortability you get, the more familiarity that you have with experiencing, strong fear or strong feelings, the less afraid you are of them. Again, coming back to the fear of fear. So, yeah, man, a bunch of different insights and perspectives, and then be like, hey, I'm here holding you, but you've got to, like you said at the start, you've got to go through it.
There, I can see you better now. The sun's coming in. Can I ask you this, Andrew? First of all, I just want to say this. And I truly believe this, that your work, that you have an anointing. I don't know if anyone's ever just straight out told you that, but I'm using my divine gift to tell you this now. You really do. You have a literal anointing on the words that come out of your mouth. What's an anointing?
What's an anointing?
It's like a divine, an extra layer of a divine gift. Like say, for instance, when someone is dubbed Sir Elton John, changed him from being just Elton John, which was already up here, but now he became Sir. It's like an added benefit. Yes, and you really do. And I want to ask you, before we get into, I know what my last question is, but I want to ask you if you could talk about this. This is a big piece. What do you do in your work with people when it's time to start beginning to face the need to heal trauma?
What do I do to face the need to heal trauma?
With your clients, how do you ease people into facing the reality of needing to understand and heal from and through trauma?
Yeah, gotcha. So the first thing that I go about doing is creating safety in the body. And I've got a methodology of emotional release that I've created called the 4 permissions, which essentially looks at that when we're growing up, we're told, even if someone says don't cry, we're still being told it's not okay to cry. You're not allowed to be angry in this household. It's not safe to express your passions, and it's not approved of to want money, for example. And so these are all judgments that lead to our own suppression of how we feel. And it ultimately then just feels unsafe to be with ourselves, because as we've grown, we've learned that there are so many things wrong about ourselves, which isn't the ultimate truth, but it holds a personal truth for everyone on the planet in one way or another, in my opinion. And so when it really comes to getting down into healing trauma, other than everything that I've spoken about today, it is helping to create safety around feeling. That it's even just for someone to let themselves know that it's okay to be scared. You know, more than often than not, we'll go with a man, for a grown man to give himself permission. That's like first off, what we're talking about at the start, to just name it. I'm scared shitless to look at
Right.
these things in myself. Just
Ding.
to name it, and to then say, and I'm allowed to be scared shitless. At the start of the call, I said that surrender is about removing resistance. Saying that it's not okay to feel scared is resistance. It's judgment. Giving ourselves permission to feel scared is
There it is.
removing.
See, that's what I love about you. Look, I was writing it down. Giving ourselves permission.
Yeah.
It's one of the most difficult things to do
Totally.
for a lot of us.
Yeah, because it's just so foreign. We're never taught it.
We were never taught that it's okay to give yourself permission. You know, like I've been recently telling a lot of my clients, you know, a lot of us don't know when to say no, but a lot of us also don't know how to say yes.
Yeah. That's good.
You see what I mean? Because especially when it's things that we don't feel we deserve, low self-esteem, I'm not worthy, imposter syndrome, on and on and on. We don't know how to accept. And so I love what you say about getting inside and stilling the chaos.
Yes.
Peace, be still. You know what I'm saying? Like really, really do it. So before we get out of here, we got a few minutes left. Can we just speak to your daily grounding? What do you reach for personally, Andrew, when you need something to hold on to, something to pull yourself up, because you have to before you can do, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of your tips that you use in your own daily life to get started on a trajectory every day that helps you find some form of your highest self?
For sure. Yeah, great question. Well, permission is one. You know, I give myself permission to let down others if I can really feel that my body's not up for it, and I can feel that I'm forcing a social event or something it might be, or even a mate just the other day on WhatsApp. He's like, what are you up to? I said, I just got home from golf. He's like, I'll give you a call. And I could just feel within myself, I'm like, I don't feel available for that. I don't have the energy for that right now. So I give myself permission to just be like, I don't have the capacity to have a 20-minute conversation with you right now. So that certainly helps for me to be grounded, knowing that I can say no and that I can say yes, and that I'm comfortable to say to someone, I don't have the capacity for that right now. And if they're going to think I sound like a wanker or a loser or just like, what's this capacity crap he's talking about? Whatever, man. Yes. That's fine. I still daily use that what's coming up is coming up to leave. That is incredibly powerful. I consistently name my fears or name the insecurity, name the doubt.
Absolutely.
And then I ask myself how willing, and also knowing this, when it comes to willingness, you're allowed to not be willing. There's no right or wrong with willingness. And a true statement of no, I'm not willing is actually a statement of empowerment. So I'll check in. I'm like, am I willing, or how willing am I to invest this energy, to risk that potential? And if the willingness isn't there, I do my best to honor it. And also knowing that sometimes I'm going to come from fear. Sometimes I'm just going to be a human being and
of course.
Deal.
And we have to leave room for that. For that. So here's what I feel is a great place to round out this interview today. Let's finish up by talking about the importance of understanding what space you're holding. for yourself and for others. We hear people talk about holding space. So give us some tips on properly managing the holding of space, beginning with the space we hold for ourselves. How important is that? Now I think there he is. Happening at the very last. Uh-huh. I know. But is he still talking? Oh, so it's his end. It's not ours. Oh, do you see my words on the screen? No. Okay, so it dropped him. So now you see me? Okay. Hopefully he'll come back in. So we made it almost all the way from Bali. You remember our guest is in Bali. So I'm so grateful that we've had almost the entire hour of uninterrupted content. So hopefully Andrew will be able to pop back in to say goodbye to us. But wow, before that happens, I'm claiming it now on the bottom of your screen. And I've already taken the liberty of dropping Andrew's website link inside the comment section for easy access at the conclusion of today's broadcast. But there it is, ticker taping along the bottom of your screen. And if he cannot get back in, I want to say this. Oh, there he is. He's back. Yes. Great. Hold on. Okay. Welcome back. Welcome
Thanks.
back. Yes.
Thanks.
I was just telling everybody, I feel incredibly honored and grateful that we made it this far with such the distance that we're dealing with and all the internet, issues. So
we've done well.
Yes. So tell us, do you remember what I was asking?
So just as you said, a great way to round off the interview, that's when it dropped. So I missed that.
Oh, okay. A great way to round off the interview. Do you remember what I was saying? Talking to my brother Jeff over there. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to ask you this. If you could give the audience, and I'm really asking for myself, this is a selfish question. If you could recommend one book that changed your journey, that as soon as you're asked that question, I know what mine is. What's yours?
Mine is called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David R. Hawkins.
By David R. Hawkins?
Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David R. Hawkins.
Pathway of Surrender. And why does that book stand out to you?
It's where the human behavior in it is incredible. It's where I learned a good amount about the emotional release. I'm pretty sure it's where I got the tennis ball analogy from. Just chucking it into our chat for you.
Okay.
It's just profound, man. It is just profound. It is just so insightful. It is so accurate. It looks at a scale of consciousness. It describes the human behavior and the attachment and the unconscious tendencies to continue to involve and engage with negative emotions in such an insightful and detailed way that there is growth and evolution and an up-leveling of consciousness just by reading the book, just by being exposed to the material. It's very good.
Just right. Can't go wrong. Love it. I will be getting that. I promise. And final question. Your website, is that the best place for people to go to continue the dialogue with you and to find out in case, they're interested in coaching with you or any of the other wonderful things you do to help people? Is this the right place to go?
Yeah, website's the best place because you can email me from there. You can get connected to my socials of Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that type of stuff. So website would be the place to go.
Okay, awesome. Are you ever over on this side of the pond? Do you ever come to the US?
I haven't been to the States since 2012. But I would love to come back. I would love to do a big just around the States trip in a van or a camper van or something like. So yeah. There's a trip looming for sure.
And in your ideal client, is it primarily men, women, both?
Men or women who are in a position where they've created some success, and they've usually had a bit of a growth spurt in their business or their career that's just required more of them. And they're noticing a bit of a dip in their performance. They're noticing that it's just taking more effort and energy for them to continue to show up. And they want to be able to rest, regenerate, and refocus without needing to stop doing business. So anyone who's in that position is someone who I love to work with.
Awesome. And finally, and I'm probably about to make a reference that you have no clue of, but I'm going to say it anyway. Here's your Jerry Springer moment. So, do you know what that is?
I know Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer. Yes. You know Jerry Springer. Okay, great. So here's your Jerry Springer moment. Let's say the audience were to forget everything we've talked about today, but remember only one piece. What piece would you hope that would be, that they would remember?
What's coming up is coming up to leave.
Perfect.
That's the piece.
Ding. What's coming up is coming up to leave. Love it. Absolutely love it. Listen, you guys, continue the dialogue. Get over and check out ANDREWPEARCE.com and get the book. I'm going to drop that inside the comment section as well, in case you want to grab that. I know I will. Andrew, I'm giving you what I refer to as the turnstile invitation, which means you're welcome back here anytime you need to come back and share with us. We would love it. Thank you for pouring into us today all the way. And I know it's nighttime there in Bali. And so thank you for sharing your evening with us. You guys get out and check out everything Andrew Pearce. And listen, I want to thank you for starting the day with me. I couldn't do it without you, nor would I want to. And join me tomorrow morning right over on the front porch. I promise, God willing, I will be there, where together we can create another divine moment in time through illuminated conversation. Now get out and do whatever it takes to find your highest self in this day. Trust me. You are going to take great to greater, bright to brighter, and strong to stronger. Now, as I say every day in closing, and I mean it, I love you. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Thank you so much, Andrew. And thanks for putting up with all the noise and everything. I promise next time we'll be in studio.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Have the best day ever. And you guys do the same. Get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul.